I'd like to start in prayer tonight. And this is a prayer from a caregiver's heart. Dear Lord, you know my heart. You know when I am feeling joyful and when I am feeling despair. Please hold me close, especially now with each and every struggle I am facing. I am trying to deal with the changes in my life during this time of caregiving, but I am not doing well. It is hard for me to accept these changes. Some days I do not recognize myself. I need your love and reassurance. Jesus, I know that it may not be your will to remove this hardship and loss from my life, because in the very thing that is causing me pain and sadness, you are already preparing to show me the beauty and blessings that are part of it all. Help me, Lord, to find peace and acceptance. Help me to trust you. Renew me and help me to discover the blessings you have for me. Amen. Well, welcome everyone. Once again, we're so happy to have you, have a full house again. And we have a wonderful speaker and we're going to have a caregiver testimonial. I'd like to introduce my lovely friend, Jenny Rigger. Jenny is an occupational therapist by day and by early morning. Some of you may have waved at this really cool balloon. She's a balloonist pilot. And so the balloon that you see up often early in the mornings is Jenny and her crew.
Unless I'm somewhere you don't want me to be, and then it's not me.
And I'm very fortunate to be part of her crew. And sometimes we have landed in some unusual places, right, Jenny? Because it's like, we have to land right now. And but kind of in that area, right? But she always,
flexible.
just in case we don't have permission to land in a certain area, there's always this nice bottle of champagne with a little card that says, we landed in your area. Thank you very much. And see ya.
Yeah, if you guys ever wake up and go outside and there's a bottle of champagne on your porch, that probably landed in your yard. So thank you for not pitchforking.
But in her professional other life, she's an occupational therapist with advanced therapy. And Jenny is, an advanced therapy is one of our sponsors and they're back here. And as Susan explained, we use that sponsor money to be able to provide the books and things that we use to give to caregivers so that you don't have to purchase them. So at this time, I'd like to introduce and welcome Jenny. Thank you.
I'm always worried that I'm not going to live up to the hype. So that's the first thing. This is way more people than I expected to see tonight. So that's awesome. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself first. As Stella mentioned, I'm an occupational therapist. I've been an occupational therapist for about 24 years this year. So a couple minutes. I practiced in many settings. I've practiced in mental health. I've practiced in nursing homes. I've practiced in hospitals. I've practiced in schools. And I currently am a co-owner of our outpatient practice, advanced therapy. So in my 24 years of experience, is that weird? Do you ever just feel like, why do I have 24 years of experience in anything? I don't even know, that seems weird. You know, I've had the privilege of working with all kinds of people across the lifespan and all kinds of different situations and in a variety of health conditions, hospice, birth, everything in between. So that's a little bit about my background. I'm passionate about, I'm a certified hand therapist, and I really love just helping people get through their day a little bit better, whatever that means. And it can mean anything from how do we change your sleeping habits to, oh, you ripped your rotator cuff off. Oh, we better reattach your arm and figure out how to get that functional again. So we kind of do that full gamut. I've also had the privilege. So, first of all, I don't feel very good tonight, and I'm emotional about my mother. So I've also had the pleasure of being a caregiver for my own mother when she passed away from cancer 17 years ago. So we cared for her at home for 3 years, and toughest thing I've ever had to do, but also the most amazing thing I ever got to do. So I feel connected to you guys in maybe a way that somebody else might not have if they've not been a caregiver before, right? So I really liked that prayer, just about that feeling kind of overwhelmed and a little hopeless. And gosh, how can I be strong for somebody else when I don't feel strong myself, right? So there's lots of facets to being a caregiver. Let's know that. You're in the trenches. How many of you guys have been caregiving for a year? How many of you have been caregiving for 5 years? 10 years? 15 years? That's a long time. Yeah, you guys are amazing. And those people's lives are extended and enriched by your care and your support and your efforts. That's amazing. So good job. You should give you really applause. So going back to my expertise, Stella asked me to come tonight and talk a little bit about safety and mobility. So often when we're caregiving, right, it can mean something, if our loved one has dementia, maybe they aren't caring for themselves the way they used to. Maybe they need a lot of cues or set up for basic toothbrushing or showering safely. Do they remember how to turn on the water? Do they turn it on too hot? Are they at risk for falls? If we have somebody who's physically deconditioned, that might require you to get them out of bed, put them in bed. It may require you to help them ambulate or move around in either a wheelchair or a walker or a cane safely. And everything in between there. The other thing as caregivers is we need to talk about your safety. Because if you're not healthy and you're not safe and you're not functional, how can you possibly do this amazing thing that you're trying to do, right? Yeah. So I brought some handouts. We're going to talk a little bit about little things that therapy sometimes, again, I'm looking at it through the therapy lens. Some things that I'm sure you guys have either figured out the hard way, right? You all are smart, savvy people. You're doing the job, you know. But you might not think of it the way we might think of it in therapy. And so I kind of just brought a little bit of a gamut. The thing that we think of the most often with mobility is falls. How many of you caregive for somebody who's had at least one fall in the last year? Okay, was it scary? Yes? Can anybody share a little bit? Does anybody want to share? No? Okay. Okay, so how many people caregive for somebody who's fallen more than one time last year? Okay, are you the ones getting them up off the ground? No? Yes? No? Okay. Were your people who fell hurt? Did they need to go to the hospital? Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Banged up, bruised, broke, black eye, skin tears. Yeah, those are all things that can happen. Stitches, yeah. Say that again.
Torn rotator cuff.
Torn rotator cuff. That's a little tougher to recover from than a stitch. Yeah, those are tough things. So 1 in 4. How many of you guys are caregiving for somebody older than 50? Older than 60? Older than 70? Okay. So we kind of categorize, this is an unpopular opinion for a lot of people. So we kind of talk about older adults as adults that are older than about 70 years old. 65 to 70 is when we start becoming older adults. Boo. It's not my definition, guys. So 1 in 4 older adults reported falling in 2018. This isn't the newest information, which equaled in the United States 36 million falls in 2018. And in 2018, they extrapolated that to be by the year 2030 in the United States, in our communities, they're expecting 52 million older adults to fall. How many of you guys have fallen? Was it like one of those things where you like tripped up the stairs and then you like made sure no one lived? And you're like, oh, I meant to do that. One time I was doing something and I like walked into a clear glass door and I like completely went on my back. I was like, I just had to laugh because really, there's no recovery from that. So that's a lot of falls, right? So 55% of all falls happen in the home. Where you guys caregiving for people in the home, right? And it's like a $50 billion, falls cost $50 billion annually in the United States. And that's just going up as our population ages. So it's a big thing. So fall prevention is huge. What are some ways that you guys know how to prevent falls? Shout them out. Gate belts. Gate belts. Good. Did anybody teach you how to use a gate belt? Okay, good. You got some training. Anybody else using gate belts because you heard it was a good idea, but no one really showed you? If you need some help, let me know. Okay. What are some other ways to prevent falls? What about furniture? Right. Placement of furniture, right? Move on the sharp edges. Right? Okay, what else? Throw rugs. That's my favorite one. Who said it? Who said it? Who said throw rugs? Yes. We're gonna be best friends, you and me.
Pets.
Pets. Yes, pets are huge, especially those really cute little dogs that just get so excited when you come home and let you right around your feet the whole time you're walking. Yes, pets. What else?
Shower entry, tub entry.
Right. Is there anything soft in the bathroom?
No.
No. Are you at your most vulnerable in the bathroom? In any way, shape, or form? Right, yes. Okay, yeah, falls in the bathroom. The bathroom is actually the place in the home where people fall most. It's slippery. The people are wet. They're not good traction. There's nothing soft. There's all kinds of stuff there. So, okay. So you guys know those things. How many of you guys, I want you to think about your house right now. I want you to be honest. No judgment here. How many of you guys have throw rugs on the ground? For somebody, and you're caregiving for somebody who might have a mobility issue, using a walker, cane, wheelchair, easily confused, Parkinson's, something like that. Right? Love our throw rugs. People are crazy. They love throw rugs. It's cold here though, right? That's it. It's cold, so we want to get rug. Okay. How many of you guys have a bathroom that's situated so that getting in and out of the tub is easy and safe, and there's room for both of you if you need to caregive for your person who needs help in the bathroom? Good. I expected no less from you. Okay. Good. You guys are pretty savvy about those things. If you were to come with your person and say, hey, I'm having trouble, this person keeps falling down. What are some other contributing factors that might lead to falling down besides tripping hazards and maybe poor furniture setup or poor bathroom setup? Medication. Medication's huge. Yes, that's probably the number one. Neuropathy, right? Maybe their body isn't registering sensation the way it should. Footwear. Yeah.
Flip-flops.
Flip-flops. Sometimes people, when their mobility is down, they sort of swell up, right? And then they can't get their feet into shoes that have sturdy. So they wear slippers or flip-flops. What else? Lighting. Huge one, right? Yeah, if things aren't well lit. Anybody falling down when they were like trying to get to the bathroom and didn't want to turn on the light? No. Okay. Okay. So what else can contribute to falls in the home? Stairs. You guys are good at this. So The other thing that we often don't think of is just basic deconditioning of our people. Maybe they don't move around the way they used to. Maybe they can't move around the way they used to. Maybe they've gained weight. Maybe they're confused. Maybe they're unsafe to move, or they need help to move, and there's not somebody to help them all the time. Yeah? No? I know a couple of you guys. So therapy can be really helpful. Physical and occupational therapy can work on the strength, the coordination, the endurance. Sometimes endurance is an issue, right? Peter out, you're going to go to the store or go to an appointment. They just don't have the energy to get there, right? Which sets them up for the fall, where you guys have to do a lot of getting them along. So, all right. What about you guys? How do you stay safe caring for your caregiver or caring for your person? Nobody here is safe? You guys do?
You're a good footwear.
You wear good footwear. That's excellent. Good. Yes, George.
Not trying to pick them up if they're young.
No, maybe know your limitation, right?
Or maybe bringing a chair or something that they can grab onto.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Knowing your personal, like for your personal safety, and knowing your limitations, knowing what you're capable of, and knowing what you can't do. 100%. What else? How many of you guys get out and exercise regularly? How many of you guys are taking care of yourselves? How many of you eat well?
Well,
Good. I eat well too well. How many of you guys are getting adequate sleep? That's the one, right? That's always the one. So if we're not caring for yourself, so we talk about safety, sleep hygiene is massive. How many of you guys, this is the break? Do you guys build in breaks that you got one, this is it, and the rest of the time you're on? Do you have respite?
No.
Okay. Are you human?
Yes.
Yeah. We need breaks, right? And it is hard. It's hard. We have a lack. We live in a small community, and even though our neighbors are awesome and we do the best we can, we don't have enough respite, do we? So it's probably more important. This is a hard thing. It's more important to take care of yourselves so that you can take care of your loved one than it is for you to even take care of them. You have to take care. It's like, right? Put your own gas mask, or put your own gas mask. That sounds right. An oxygen mask. That's what it's called. Did I mention that? The oxygen, they tell you to put it on yourself before you help your child, right? So it's the same kind of idea. You guys have to take good care of yourselves first. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit. Anybody have any questions about any of that so far? You guys like, this is kind of lecture-y. I'm so sorry. You guys feel like lecture? Yes.
Just the point, and it's helpful to circle back about fitness.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the first things I think,
Fitness.
and I think it's just easy to forget about that with all the other details.
You betcha.
Strategy and technique.
Right, 100%. Just taking good care of yourself, being fit. Your person depends on you. Yes, ma'am.
Going back to throw rugs, so my mother in her 40s, I'm begging her to replace the rugs that are in the bathroom. I'm asking how to even use them, but she's not ready to go there. So what do you do in those situations?
Well, that's the trick, right? You can't, she's pretty sharp with it. We'll recognize her rug out there.
7 days a week she's sharp. And that's if she's resting.
Sure. Okay. Well, there's a couple of different ways to go about it. I'm never one to suggest that you have to bamboozle somebody or trick them. But sometimes you just have to gently be like, oh, this is going to be washed. And then it fell apart in the washer. We've used that before. You can't make them do stuff. You can suggest, you can cajole, you can be, you can do all of the things that you can. But at the end of the day, if her whole situation is this throw rug exists, then that is my life. Like, you gotta work with it. you can stick them down. Is it tile underneath?
Yeah, it's like.
So they do have those like non-skid rug liner things that work pretty good. And you can actually tape those rugs to the floor so they don't come up, like even if you catch it with your toe or the edge of the walker, it doesn't come up as quick.
I'd like to talk her into showering with her swimming shoes, but she used to be a water aerobics person.
Sure.
So I can get rid of them, but that's not there yet. But also when you were just talking about, which I do, but until you said it out loud, I didn't realize, we probably should take the bathroom door off. Because it's in front of the shower and the toilet, and it's a small enough bathroom that if she's down, we're not coming in.
Right, yeah. The bathrooms, it's so interesting, especially if you live in an older house, they never really thought about stuff like this. They were counting on, you know, Aunt Fruit to be in a wheelchair or having to use a walker. And so these older homes, and a lot of us have older homes. I have a house that was built in the 70s, and my bathroom, and I'm an OT, I know better. We bought this house anyway, and it has stairs. So those bathrooms are not designed for people who have mobility issues. And especially people with mobility issues that need help. Try sticking 2 people in the bathroom. Woo. I've helped some people get in and out of showers. It's a little dicey. So, but there's all kinds of new things. Replacing the existing tub with just a walk-in shower so that it's there. You can go lift this big and you just walk right in. Easy. They have some of them have built-in benches, adjustable. How many of your people like baths? Oh, good. Baths are a thing. People used to like really want baths. But they even have those big bathtubs now with doors that you can literally get in, close the door. It's like a jet tub. Maybe one too. I'm not wondering. But there are programs for people, like if you're financially like in a situation where you can't do that, sometimes if your person's on Medicare does have some limited funding for projects like that and some of those kind of things. So that would be maybe where your friendly resource physical occupational therapist might be able to help you locate some of those things, work on that. I think our first, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Susan. Susan, you said you're a grant writer?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes there's grants for stuff like that. If your person is a veteran and service connected, the VA is really good about, I mean, you have to do all the hoopy paperwork stuff, but a lot of times there's resources there to help, you know, modify your home so that you're decreasing the falls. So they'd rather, you know, give you $5,000 for a bathroom remodel than spend $20,000 trying to rehab your guy after he has a brain injury from falling down in the tub. So, yeah. That was good. Thanks for sharing. Okay. What else? Any questions?
I just want to throw out that AARP did come out with a home modification for veterans. So we do have the veteran one coming up. I think we'll have some other stuff here before then, but
Yeah,
we have an amazing home modification guide.
yeah. There's all kinds of stuff. As an occupational therapist, I've often been called in to do home safety evaluations, which Medicare does pay for with a doctor's prescription. So if you're like, I need help, but I don't know what to do, you can call up an occupational therapist and say, and I want you to come look at this house. A lot of people feel weird about having somebody come into their home. They're like, don't judge my housekeeping. We're never judging your housekeeping. We really, really care about it just being safe. And there's lots of things we can modify from doorknobs to, like you mentioned, taking doors off. You'd be surprised how many people do not want to take a door. They're like, no, I can't take a door off. I can't lift up this rug. It's my pride and joy. People get weirdly attached to rugs, you guys. How the furniture is organized, the heights of the furniture. Anybody ever just go into their friend's house and sit on the couch and then like you're up with your knees up by your ears, you're like, how am I gonna get out of this thing, right? Or like the chair that has like the big butt move in it, and they have to like struggle to get out of it. Low furniture, especially for some of our older adults, is really, really challenging. How many toilets? We live in older homes. How many of us guys still have like the original low toilets in your house, or did you graduate to the tall ones? The tall ones are, so I'm short. The hardest part is when you have like a tall caregiver and and a short person you're getting cared for, or vice versa, and then like people are swinging.
Yeah.
Great. How many of your people are still cooking or enjoy cooking or being in the kitchen? Yeah, a lot of us like really enjoy that. I love to cook. And so are your kitchens set up? Is the thing that they use the most on the very top third shelf of their having to reach all the time? Or is it way down there in the back of the cupboard? I'm gonna get on the floor and dig for it for 44 years. You know, are the knives sharp? How many of you guys have people that shouldn't be in the kitchen? Or that you have a fear for that? Right. So we have lots of sharp things in the kitchen. People that might be forgetful about, did I leave the stove on, or did I turn it off all the way, or did the oven stay on, right? They have all kinds of fun little switches that you can do now, where there's like a switch, so, you know, somebody wants to fiddle around in there, or they do something, you can actually turn the switch off so they can't turn the stove on, but it can be turned on. Like you put it where they can't see it or whatever. And there's stuff you can control from your phone now too, switches that you can control from your phone, plug your stove into that and you can control whether it's on or off. So there's all kinds of technology and it's like created all kinds of interesting solutions for problems that people are encountering. And so, and as an occupational therapist, we explore those options, like what is the problem? What do we want to be able to do? And how do we get there, right? So we're real big on problem solving, figuring out the roadmap. And that roadmap's different for you, and 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 all of your people, right? Because everybody has a unique set of circumstances.
So can we go back to that again, Jenny?
Yeah.
So if someone is caring for a loved one at home, they can ask the physician to write an order, or what is it?
So, so you could have them write it for an occupational therapy home safety evaluation.
Okay, so this is the first time we've heard about it.
Oh, yeah. So, and then I'll tell you another little thing. It's kind of a well-kept secret, although it shouldn't be a secret. Wyoming is a direct access state for physical and occupational therapy services. So that means if you want to come to physical or occupational therapy, you can walk in the door and say, I'm here and I want to have some therapy. And we're allowed to treat you without a physician's supervision. Now, if you want Medicare to pay for it, you need to have your doctor on board.
The home safety, Medicare will pay for it.
Medicare pays for it.
But you just ask the doctor.
Yep. I mean, all the rules for Medicare apply, right? You have if you have traditional, okay.
Yeah.
We're getting into a whole different box for us. I don't mean to open a can of worms, but traditional Medicare, you have whatever the $240 deductible is. And then if you have a secondary, typically the secondary will cover what Medicare doesn't. Medicare pays 80%, your secondary will cover 20%. So, well, correct. But they allow the amount because how we bill it is just like an evaluation and some other stuff. So, if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, they're evil. Those rules are probably not the same. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have what you have, and you want to check on those things. But yes, generally speaking, the home safety evaluations are covered. All you need is a prescription from your doc if you want your insurance to pay for it.
And do you provide a written report?
I do. With recommendations, equipment suggestions. So I provide the write-up and I'll provide the person with like, oh, here's where you can get the grab bars and how much they are. And here's where you can look at this tub, or here's, you know, whatever solution we need to do here. Toilets, risers, grab bars are pretty common, furniture arrangement. A lot of us have narrow doorways. So sometimes it's a matter of taking a door off so you can get the walker in there safely. So little stuff like that. Have you ever had a problem and then you just needed an outside view, right? You live there, that's your home. I can't tell you how many times I've invited a friend over and like, what about this thing? And I was like, oh, I just stepped over that for 3 years or whatever it is. So, okay. Good. Any more questions about that?
By doing a home assessment, this young lady talking about the rug,
Mhm.
by having the OT recommend that rug be replaced or moved, might sit well with the mom.
Yeah, sometimes, if you say things like, especially, like, there's certainly a generation of people where you say, well, the doctor wants this. They listen to the doctor. They don't listen to you, but they'll listen to the doctor. So it's just knowing your person and what the right buttons are for those things. But you could, we've certainly presented things before where there was a clear safety hazard. And it was like, okay, Ralph, the doctor said you can't have throat rugs. Okay. Let me just make sure the doctor knows that. So when Ralph asked the doctor later, we're like, oh yeah, no throat rugs. So, okay. I am about out of time, I think. I'm supposed to be.
You're
writing
okay.
these up. I have
You're probably got a good 10 minutes.
another 10 minutes. Okay, good. I could talk. So, okay, so we've talked a little bit about adaptive equipment. We've talked about, so I have handout, like I said, I made some handouts and Stella has some more.
And the handouts are over. We put them on the advanced therapy table. So if any of the things that Jenny was talking about and you think I like some of these handouts, if you happen to run out, I have a whole set and I'll bring more back next week if we don't have enough for everybody, because not everybody will want all the same.
So a large focus when occupational therapy is working with patients who require caregiving is really maximizing the independence of the person being cared for. Right? It's difficult enough being caregivers, but if you're expected to feed them and change them and help them transfer and those things get overwhelming. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. And so sometimes it's about looking at that person and saying, okay, how can, they have a bad tremor. And so eating their dinner is really difficult for them. So there's adaptive equipment for that. So we trial a few things and see what works best. And then we say, okay, we're going to do that. Or how does anybody care for anybody with like MS or Lou Gehrig's, ALS? No? Okay. Anybody with stroke? Oh, you guys can. So sometimes like the dexterity of their hands, like they can't grasp onto something. There's something called a universal cup that you can put a spoon in or a fork in or their toothbrush in or any number of things you can insert into the universal cup. And so if they can't hold on to the thing, but they can still do this, they can do all those things. So there's lots of different equipment and utensils and all, I mean, there's catalogs and catalogs of those kind of things, scoop dishes and, all kinds of stuff. If you have a hard time cutting your meat, maybe you use a rocker knife. There's all kinds of things that you can do to improve and increase the independence, right? If somebody can't reach their bottom to wipe, how many people have bathroom issues? It's the glamorous part of my job. We get in there and we start talking like, okay, I can't reach to wipe. I like to wipe like this and I can't reach that way. Okay, well, what can we do? There's tools and strategies that you can do. Sometimes we use a bidet. You can get bidets now that like hook right onto your toilet. You can hook it up to the warm water into the sink and you can just have the European experience. And they're clean. I mean, that's the thing, right? They're clean. And you didn't have to physically go in there and take care of business. And that preserves their dignity too, right? How many of you guys have dreamed of a day when somebody would come help you in the bathroom and wipe your bottom? Exactly. They haven't either. So what are some solutions that we can do to help preserve the dignity and independence of your person, right? And again, decrease the burden on the caregiver, right? They don't want to be your burden, do they? No, not one of them. Okay. The last thing I think I'll talk about, one of the handouts is something that I use when I go on a home safety evaluation, and it's just a nice little checklist. So there are handouts for this. And it just kind of goes room by room in your house of things to be thinking about. You know, are the doors easy to open? You know, if I can't grasp the door knob, do I have lever doorknobs or do I have round doorknobs? Is the door sticky on the carpet? Are there obstacles behind it? Are there, I mean, there's a million things. So that checklist is kind of fun. So if you're having issues at home and you wonder, I wonder if there's things I could be looking at, you can look at the checklist. The last thing that, there's two lessons. There's always two lessons. And they kind of go hand in hand. So body mechanics are huge. So when we talk about your fitness and your ability to take care of your person, if you are required to move them in any way, put their shoes on, get them in and out of bed, in and out of the shower, on and off the toilet, your body mechanics matter. And that goes back to your safety. If you use a herniated disc, trying to get somebody's compression socks on, how functional are you? How helpful is that for your person? How functional is it for you? As you as the person, right? And so if you, a lot of times, we'll be asked to call in and say, okay, hey, I need you to come in and help me like problem solve around how to do this transfer. So I've worked in nursing homes and hospitals, and if any of you are nurses, you'll maybe appreciate this. So nurses are always just in a hurry, right? They've got more patients than they can take care of. They got to get all the stuff organized, they got to do all the stuff. And so when Gladys needs to get out of bed, they get in there and they just run out of bed and get in the chair, and then they got to get on to the next thing. And then therapy comes in and therapy's like, okay, Gladys, we got to get into the chair today. And it takes us 15 minutes to get Gladys in the chair. And the nurses are like, oh my gosh. And you go to the nurses and you're like, okay, Gladys can get in the chair, but you have to set her up like this, and you have to do this thing, and then you have to stand by. And the nurses are like, no, not gonna happen. But you guys might have a little more time than a nurse, right? And so if you can set things up there, but you might not know how to do that. You're not trained for that. So that's where physical and occupational therapy can come in and be helpful. Again, can do it in your home. We can mock it up in the clinic. We can talk you through it. We can practice with you and then have you practice on us. Like there's all kinds of things and support for that. And all of that stuff, again, is covered. Caregiver training is covered by your person's Medicare dollars. If they have an order for therapy and that is on our treatment plan, we can do it. And that includes coming to your home and doing that or whatever that needs to look like. Okay? And body mechanics training is something most of us know, like lift with your legs, right? But that might be about it. And then can anybody tell me any other good body mechanic tips? Besides lift with your legs? Okay, then shoulder width apart, maybe if you have room.
Whatever you're lifting, you get it close.
Lift to your body, right. What else?
About the push and not pull, or pull and not, or not push, or one of those.
Depends on what you're doing. Sometimes you have to push or pull. How about twisting? If we're moving from here to here, how many of us do that? Twisting is terrible for you, don't do it. So body mechanics training is usually pretty good, but we might need help with that. Okay. The last thing that I want to talk about and address is energy conservation. So energy conservation is something that a lot of us do not practice as humans. And then when we have limitations, it just becomes more difficult. So this really requires a lot of planning. Okay, how many of us like to try to get all the errands done? Because, well, and this goes back to maybe you don't have respite. Maybe you have 1 hour to go get all the crap done that you get done this week, right? So having a clear plan, prioritizing what really needs to get done, but that energy suck is real. And so figuring out where can we conserve energy, not only for ourselves, but where can we conserve energy for our loved ones as well. You know, we're like, so who we got in the car, let's go at 45 minutes today. And then they're completely useless when they get back and you have to like drag them in by their arm, right? Because they don't have the energy to get back. So thinking about planning, it takes a lot of planning and a lot of preparation and that's a lot, that's a big job. But it will save you in the long run, the more you have planned. So energy conservation is another area that occupational therapists work with our patients, with our caregivers, as well as the people being cared for. Ways to, you know, get through the shower. Showers, how many of you guys help your person with showers? Yeah, it takes a lot out of them, right? Are they worth anything after that? Do we do anything else on shower day? Not if we can help it, right? It's hard. Those things are difficult. One thing that I don't have a handout for, that we do sometimes, we're also work with patients when we have cognitive decline, memory issues, Alzheimer's, Lewy body dementia, vascular dementia. There's all kinds of different kinds of dementia. Hearing loss, visual loss, all of those things contribute to some of these issues as well. And therapy can often be helpful in terms of that as well. And, you know, figuring again, if they have low vision, there's all kinds of things you can do for low vision patients that help improve safety and independence. If you have somebody with dementia, you know, there are some things that we can do to support, you know, preventing further cognitive decline. We're not in charge of that. We don't always get to decide that, but there are things that you can do to help keep what they have stimulated and connected and working on some of those things and at least help. Sometimes progress doesn't look like this, right? Sometimes progress looks like this and not this, right? Where we don't have a sharp decline. So sometimes progress is just holding steady where we don't have a big decline. So I'm getting the look. The hook's coming out. Does anybody have any questions for me? Yes and no. I mean, they have sort of a cap, and then you also, so I was thinking of it like pots of money. You have your first pot of money, and then you have your second pot of money. And then if it's medically necessary, and the doctor continues to sign the plans of care, and the therapist continues to argue that this is medically necessary for them, you can exceed the second pot of money. There's some people that just need a lot, and it might take them a very long time. Their progress might be steady, but this much at a time, right? So I've never had anybody get kicked off of therapy. I've never had that happen. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I think it shouldn't be too much of a deal.
Jenny, quick question on the home safety evaluation. If you come up with something, let's say you need to get rid of your put in a walk-in shower, which requires some maybe very intensive hand-to-hand kind of work. Are there resources that you guys use for those sorts of things?
Usually I just kind of have a list of people that I know can help you with that or areas to, because you have to decide what's, you know, especially if you're paying out of pocket, you're going to have to decide that. If you can get some grant money, they might help you decide who they're going to allow to do that work. So it just kind of depends on what those resources end up being. But I personally, as an occupational therapist, help in any way that I can, whether that be calling contractors, whatever have you. I've gone to people's houses and installed the bars myself. I haven't tried to do it. We need to do it in our house. Let me get practiced and then I'll. I know. These are sort of the jack of all trades, right? And kind of do a little everything. Oh, I'm getting burnt out. So don't forget that, and don't like this again or not. You want this one? Don't working. Yeah.
I'll use that just for a second.
Okay.
I'm gonna introduce my next speaker and then I don't.
Okay, there's that.
Don't forget that if you are a veteran, there are a lot of different resources. I know, right, that you're not a veteran, but for those that are, there's a lot out there, and there's a lot of other resources. And talk to Wyoming Independent Living. The University of Wyoming has some really good resources that are out there. So don't not ask. But let's thank Ginny and give her a round of applause. And don't forget that she has some wonderful handouts. So our next speaker, we always try to have a caregiver testimonial. And sometimes it's about someone that we cared for in the past. Sometimes it's someone that we're caring for currently and have cared for a long time. And that's what we're doing this evening. Some of you may know Kelly Boyd. He has been a caregiver to his wife Cindy, and his caregiving time, I think, started back in 2016. He'll give you the story, and it's an amazing story, as all of you have an amazing story. And we always, if anybody says, I would love to tell my story because I want people to know, I think it's very impactful, and I think it's very powerful to have a caregiver tell their story because it makes us feel not so alone. It happened to us as well. So I'll let you put that somewhere and I will hook you up.
Okay. Cindy and I became a couple in 1973. We lived this life that was just amazing. And my wife, Cindy Boyd, she and her sisters own Kelly's or the Warehouse Market. And probably every person in here either shopped or ate there or had them catered a wedding or everything. Cindy's a beloved woman of Sheridan. She became really ill while I was gone. My life was kind of an adventurous life. Did a lot of mountaineering, did a lot of skiing, climbed altitude climbing. And one of my passions was to be a commercial salmon fisherman. And that's what I was doing. So I was out in Frederick Sound outside of Petersburg, Alaska. Cindy gave me a call. So I haven't been out of my bed for 3 days. I can't move. I don't know what's going on. I said, call the hospital, get an ambulance and get there. I'm going to go to the harbor, load up, and I'll be home tomorrow. Got on Alaska Airlines, and I was in Billings, got picked up, took home. Sure enough, her spine collapsed. And so that was in June. By September, she hadn't got any better. She got worse. She was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is a bone marrow cancer. But she has a kind of multiple myeloma that only 1,000 people in the United States get a year. And it's almost always, except for Cindy, from within 30 days to 3 months after diagnosis. That's your life expectancy with multiple myeloma with AL amyloidosis. Deacon Greg at the church here was Cindy's oncologist. He picked up on it. She had the bone marrow cancer diagnosed. He did a pelvic biopsy, found the amyloidosis, and he just fell apart. So they tried really hard to calm down. Said the only way to control it is to get the myeloma cells gone, and then we'll work on the others. September was ugly. She spent September in the hospital, all of October, all of November. It was getting close to Christmas. The TCU unit, let me back up. One part of her disease causes this amyloid cells to float around in your body and attack every organ, all your skin, your hair, everything. What happens? One of the major diagnoses is that your tongue swells up at about the size of a piece of sausage, summer sausage. So she couldn't eat. And in the hospital, nurses do not hand feed patients. She was going to starve to death because nobody is going to feed her. So I had to go to the hospital every meal and hand feed her puree. Is her tongue, so little tiny spoonfuls up there, take an hour to get enough in there. All the pills had to be done the same way. They said, TCU unit is not where she needs to be. She's going to go to Westview, and you're going to have to go out there every day, do that. Unless you want to become her caregiver. She doesn't want to go there. So Westview was not the answer for Cindy. She was brought home. And so the first month was kind of a struggle. And had the home assessment. Oh, I can turn my house upside down, put handles up and down walls. She can't even get out of bed. What am I worried about these things for? She's laying in bed. She's going to be there for a while. So two of her friends, Terry Drossy of this church and Debbie Law. I don't know if you know Debbie Law, they used to live in Sheridan. They held a fundraiser at the Elks Club, and they raised some money on some raffles and just donations and a GoFundMe from one of the kids that worked for Cindy. And I had enough money then to buy the walk-in tub. That's the first thing I bought. The second thing I bought for her, because she couldn't sleep in a bed because she didn't have the strength to turn herself over, a hip snap. Every person in here knows how to do it because that's how you turn over in bed at night. She didn't have that strength. So bed sores were a major issue. So I bought her a stand-up reclining mechanical chair that you can lay down and sleep in when you want to get up, and it'll stand you up. So I purchased those two things immediately. And I bought two commodes, one for the toilet in the restroom, one to sit right next to that chair. So all I had to do is stand her up, hug her, move her. She could sit down, I could leave the room. She could do her business, could come back, help her, sit her down, lean her back. So I wasn't lifting, I wasn't doing anything. The chair was working for us. So try to find, if you need those things, try to find those items for a person that can't help themselves. And you might have to feed them for several months. But in January, she started vomiting nonstop, 24/7. The amyloids got on her vagal nerve that goes from your brain to your toes. And she would stop vomiting enough I could get the chemo drug down. And Dr. Marino, he said, if it's 10 minutes, it's probably got absorbed. If you see the pill come up, give her it again. But if you don't see the pill come up or the shell is broke, then don't. So that's how I got, gosh, we went like that. Started in January 3rd. On January 22nd was the day that broke. Dr. Marino was a naval doctor. And how many know Dr. Marino? When he was young, he was a naval doctor. And he told me, he says, I think that I've got the answer. When sailors would come and get on a ship, and they never could get over seasickness, we gave them this. And it's a psychotic drug that's dangerous. Are you willing to try? I said, well, she's going to starve to death and die. We have to. So it's haloperidol. It's for schizophrenia. So I could cut that pill up in little tiny pieces and give it to her until I got her to stop. She woke up in the middle of the night on January 22nd, and we still laugh about it. She goes, I want some scrambled eggs and some toast. So that's one of her favorite meals even today. But everything that you talked about, Jenny, we have done. And you kind of know that because Cindy's a person that comes to you every year for what the 3 months that Medicare allows. She doesn't have, she has neuropathy in her hands and feet, can't walk very well. There was a miracle that was done in this church. That's for another story, but Cindy's cancer and the amyloidosis is under control. But now those two diseases have taken her body and wrecked it. So I will be her caregiver for a long time and probably be alive when she dies.